actually going to angle mine just a tad bit here, so sorry for that.
Careful now.
You know what? Mike Lee, the owner of Laugh Out Lounge, had the exact same issue when we did the podcast. And he went on like a 5-minute rant about these things freaking suck.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So you're not alone.
Oh, no, there you go.
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Roadkill Podcast. My name is Laurel. Down on the other end, we have Mark Roadkill of Roadkill Custom Drum Company. And today we are joined by the lovely Miss Laurie Wright, Mr. Rusty Wright, and Duane Poling. Am I saying that right?
Poling,
perfect.
Yes, you're good.
Right out the gate. Welcome to the show, guys.
Great to be here.
Well, I kind of want to address like the big question I want to ask because I haven't seen you in a hot minute.
Well, we've been busy.
Yeah, you guys. That's exactly why.
We
you
almost
guys have
never play locally.
I know that.
Driving
Almost
all
never.
over the place.
Well, you guys did the dinner jam with us last year, and we had a ton of fun. And I haven't seen you since then, but I have seen a lot of posts of you guys traveling all over the place, and you guys have had some interesting stories along that journey. I don't even know which one to start with, to be honest. So tell us a little bit about your latest trips and where you guys have been.
Well, let's see. This is all the run that ran out to New Hampshire for the White Mountain Boogie and Blues.
Yeah. We did 2 big runs last summer up through Michigan, up through the New England states, New Hampshire, and then we went up through New York.
Yeah.
And then into
and
Ohio.
The Midwest, yeah.
Yeah.
Midwest
Michigan,
is
Chicago.
where we're from. So
got to play with Buddy Guy again.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Buddy, every time we play his club, if he's in town, he'll come up and jam with me every time. So he likes my play, and he gave me my probably the best quote I ever got. Right. We were, the first time we played his club, he wasn't around. Next time when playing, and I guess his son, who does sound there, really liked my playing and stuff. And so he told his dad, hey, you got to come up see this guy. So he came up and, was listening, sitting over. He has a special area over by the bar that's all cordoned off with a big fancy, stool just with his name on him that no one is allowed to ever touch or sit in.
He's got bodyguards around it.
I mean, it's Buddy Guy.
So he's sitting over there, and we're doing our thing and having a good time. And finally, he comes up there and sends the waitress over, and she says, Mr. Guy would like to know if he could come play with you. And I'm like, oh, please.
You're asking that question backwards. The question isn't if he can play with us. The question is if I can play with him.
He comes up there, and we had a blast. And he, starts rapping with the crowd and singing and stuff. And we're just kind of backing him up and going back and forth. And that guy's 88 years old, but he can still throw down. And I mean, and then every so often he's yelling, where's my cognac? And this little girl comes running with this snifter full of $200 a bottle cognac. Oh. And
she bats her eyes at him, and he smiles at her. And
he swishes it around, then downs the whole thing in one shot. And I'm like, and he did that 4 or 5 times while he was up there. And I'm thinking,
I think it's colored water.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is that iced tea or is that really cognac?
Yeah, that's iced tea, but he's getting
No, I agree, because for that reason, I went out and decided I had to know what cognac was, right? I'd keep hearing it, and I got a shot of it. We took it home, and I put it on for toothache only. And I set it on the counter until it finally dried up. But
it's not my cup of tea, but it's his, and so he does his thing. And
it'll put some hair on your chest.
We had a great time, but we got done with that show.
And it'll take it off.
It's over. It's the end of the night, and he's hung out for the whole evening, so he's
signing autographs for people
and stuff. And I walked up, just to basically shake his hand and say, thanks. That was great. That's like a bucket list thing. I always wanted to, play with you and stuff. And he looks at me and goes, shit. He said, don't you never take shit from nobody. You great. And I'm like, okay, Buddy Guy just called me great. I'm done.
And he kind of floated out of the
Let's take the bucket list and toss it out. You done.
Yeah, I'm fine now. Anything can go on. I don't care.
He turned around and he says, I can die now. I'm happy.
Band breakdown. Next 4 gigs get canceled. I don't care. I'm fine.
You're good.
The theme song from The Greatest American Hero come to mind. Like, believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
That's quite an accolade from a gentleman. For a gentleman with the experiences and the life history that he's had, getting a quote like that. I mean, that's not something that he does every day of the week. week.
No.
So.
Well, he just said you sounded like a young Johnny Winter.
Yeah, he used to.
Wow.
And it comes up all the time now and plays with me. If he's in town, he'll be up there. And his son Greg is running this house sound when he's not on tour with his dad. So he does the sound and stuff. And Greg keeps threatening to bring his guitar up there, and I'm like, "Come on, let's do it. Let's have some fun. We'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
We'll have a good time."
They're actually a nice family.
Yeah, they are.
At least, to us. But,
Yeah, they're nice to us, so that's all I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that of the Guy family.
Yeah.
That they're all very sweet and generous and very genuine people. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Genuine people.
We've had nothing but great experiences there every time. And one time, I did the rock and roll fantasy camp there that time. The rock and roll fantasy camp is this big deal where people of all stripes from anywhere in the world can come and spend a week. All ages,
skill
all
levels.
skill levels. You
I've
never
seen
know.
it. Yeah.
So, and they get all these people to pay thousands and thousands
it's like
of dollars.
6,000. 6,000.
And
It
they're
might
there
be
for
more
like a
now.
week.
Yeah, that's why I've never
And
done it.
what it is these people come together, and at the end of the week, they're going to be the backup band for three famous people. Buddy Guy was the one of them. Chris Layton, who was the drummer for Stevie Ray Vaughan, was another, and then Nancy Wilson from Heart was another one. And these people are going to play and be the backup band for these people, and they're going to play one song with each one of them. But they hire guys like me and Joe Vitale from Joe Walsh and other guys, that in the business to basically be the instructors. We all get a band, and we have to teach these people how to be a band and how to play this song by the end of the week.
Usually 5 total
Pressure's
strangers.
on.
And they have to pick a song and learn it and then perform it.
Yep.
And some of them don't have a clue what this camp
That's
is
what I was
even
going to
about.
ask. What the qualifications?
You have no.
There are none.
There
You're
are
gonna
none.
get
Anybody can
beginners.
come.
If you have the money,
Yeah,
you can
if
go.
you have the money to go
If
to
you
the
have the
camp.
money, you can
Definition
go.
of pay to play, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're going to play with these people. Then they have a big meet and greet where they get pictures taken. They take video of the performance, and everybody gets copies of that and gets photos.
And all
with
of
it.
the
It's
counselors.
a better deal than being Gene Simmons' roadie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$25,000 or something to do that shit. It's
Oh,
like,
my God.
yeah, no, you
Yeah.
pay me if I'm going to be your roadie.
Oh, you mean somebody
Right.
paid $25,000 to be his roadie?
Oh,
Yes.
they're
Oh,
coming up
geez.
with all kinds of
Yeah.
different angles now. But
It was something like I ain't.
The
Don't
fantasy
quote
camp-
me on the number, but it was stupid money.
But the fantasy camp was a good experience. I mean, I took a bunch of strangers who never met each other in life, who were scared
All
to death,
across the country.
and worked with them for a week, and they all became a band. They became friends. They
Yeah.
became, they came together. They were playing good. By the day of the show, they're all feeling fantastic because we got this. We can do this,
Yeah.
And they get up on the stage at Legends, which is the club in Chicago, Buddy's place, with a full stage and the full sound and back line. You got the road crew taking care of everything, and you walk up there and they do the big introduction, and the place is packed to the nines and standing room only, and these people get up there and play, with these famous rock stars. And by the end of the night, I mean, it's a great experience. I'm still friends with all of them that I've ever taught. I've done several of them, so it's been a blast.
That's on my bucket list. Do something that cool. I mean, I'm nowhere near as skilled, but good Lord, that sounds like
They
so much
are
fun.
not
It's a lot of
skilled players for the most part.
You
Well,
can be
yeah, but
anybody.
I don't
Well,
have the
I-
coin.
I
either.
There was
No.
Gary Hoey had a band. He was teaching
Sure.
at one that I was with,
Yeah.
and his band actually had a kid who wanted to play bass, but he had only begun playing that year. He'd
Like
been
2
playing
weeks.
for-
He had only been playing a
he'd
few
been
weeks.
playing a few weeks, but
Wow.
he wanted to do this so bad. His parents paid for it. And Gary actually sat there and worked with him privately and got him all set so that he could play those songs and get through the set. And during the show, Gary walked up there and was giving him little, encouragement and
Yeah.
little, put your hand on 5, and they worked out their number system so the kid could, he
Yeah.
didn't know notes yet, but he could count the frets. So he'd be like, okay, going on to 3 now. Yeah, there you go. And he's just working it through it.
And
it
your
was
bass
great.
player walked up and helped him too.
Yeah.
That's super awesome. That reminds me of when I first moved here. I was at Jim and Judy's final big ass jam before they retired the show over at Jesse's, and I got up and played after my wife's heavy encouragement. my father-in-law down there going, "Get up and play!" And I was like, "Okay."
There are probably a few beers involved too, right?
Well, I had never really participated in an open jam like that. I'd participated in open mics where you get up with your acoustic and you play a song or two and then you get off, but never like an open jam like that. And to see musicians have that skill to be able to connect with somebody who's not experienced either in music or in that arena, to be able to coach and lean in and have that very welcoming mentality is a rare thing, and it's so cool to see.
It should always be that way.
That's kind of
yeah,
what I cut my teeth on. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I came out of the hills of West Virginia, so everybody got together at the barber shop on Thursday nights, and it didn't matter if you were a beginner, whatever. You sat around the big circle, and the song kept going around. Basically, if you came to you and you're the banjo picker, you played it.
You played your solo.
Yeah, if you're just guitar player, you just bang a little harder. And that's how the keep going. No, that's how they learned. That's how we learned. I mean, that's, it didn't matter, and nobody came over there and fussed at you if you messed up.
Yeah,
and I think today that's one of the issues. Everybody's
like,
so
you can't be fired.
I've been lucky being a fairly new drummer that I've been around people that are really great at that. And it's like even Rusty, when they were here for the dinner jam, absolutely one of my favorites to jam with, because we got off on that one song. It wasn't even a song. You just started doing that warm up that you were playing.
Yeah, improvisation.
And I had a little fun with just hitting the toms, simple riff.
Sure.
It's just and it ended up being one really fun, a fun moment.
A lot of guys playing in the blues genre, improvisation is a big deal. You know?
Okay.
All these guys will start.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little.
Yes, nurse.
Clean up 5.
But you just a lot of times either a drummer will lay down a groove and everybody and the bass player will kick in next, and then the piano guy or a guitar player will come in behind it, and suddenly somebody's up there singing. They're just making words up out of the blue, do it all the time. And most of the blues songs, that's how they were written. A bunch of guys just jamming, and somebody said, "That was pretty good. Can you remember that?" Yeah, let me write that down.
Right.
I remember learning in early on in my songwriting career that you're exactly right. That's how blues songs are written. That's why some blues songs, even super famous ones, if you really lay out the lyrics, they don't exactly make sense.
No. Sometimes
these are two conflicting things here. That isn't really okay. But it's because they're written on that improvisation, and it just works.
You want to talk about a weird situation? I was on tour one time, and I had to hire a new rhythm section, new bass player and drummer.
We just moved to Florida,
so
this is 2016.
We had all these commitments for a whole tour, and we had to find guys like right away.
Yeah.
So we got these guys. We found a couple, and we worked them into the show, and they got enough material together. In the tour scene, you have your big shows on the weekends, festivals and stuff, but you play clubs and smaller venues during the week to stair step out to the next area where the bigger shows are.
We were heading to Telluride.
Yeah, but we had these weekday shows.
Blues fest.
So I know we got this stop in St. Louis, and we're playing like a Wednesday night, some little barbecue juke joint type place, nothing fancy, but nice, cool little blues vibe place. And they said, "Yeah, come on in, play for Wednesday. We'll hook you up." And we get there, and I'd worked out enough. We just had enough time to work out enough material for 4 hours, so we could
3 actually, but we were stretching, so we thought we could stretch to 4.
Well, we get to this place, and the owner comes up, and says to me, "Glad to have you. Nice to see you. Oh, did the agent tell you we do 5 hours here?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, no problem." So we're stretching. I'm taking extra rides. We're doing stuff. We're doing breakdowns. I'm talking to the crowd. I'm thinking every trick in the book to stretch time. We get through every last note of music that we've got figured out. And I look up at the clock, and there's 10 minutes up on the damn thing left. I'm like, all I could do is turn around and look at the guys and said, "Kiwi, follow me." And I just started kicking into a nice Louisiana type chug riff. We kicked in, and they're just following me doing the 1-4-5. And I walked up and started making up lyrics, and it came out so good. I wrote it all down, and we ended up
we're looking at each other because everything's rhyming. It's got to start, a middle, and an end. And I'm like, damn
it's just
you.
Like, it was like somebody peeled the top of my head off and poured in a song and said, "There you go." And then it came out. And it was so good, I ran right to, my little notebook and wrote everything down as fast as I could before it was gone, And we ended up recording it and putting it on a record later.
Which song is it?
Going to NOLA.
Going to NOLA?
Yeah.
Okay. Check out
just
Going
a
to NOLA.
simple-
That sounds awesome.
Totally made
song,
up on the fly in a little juke joint place in St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow. That's a really cool story.
Yeah.
I was pissed.
No
frankly.
lie. She was looking at me like, "What the hell?"
How do you do that?
You know,
I got lucky.
People that are that talented.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's a fucking train wreck.
Well, no, yeah, sometimes. But when you have one of those sweet moments, Mark calls people that are like excessively talented like that one of them fuckers.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when he first met me, he was like, "Let's go play music," and I was like, "Okay." So I came over to the house and we jammed one of the dinner jams. That one was with Steve Didas, I think. And I started making up something on the spot, and then I switched from guitar over to drums. And I'm not like good at any of it. I can hold my own on all of them. That's the best way. The jack of many trades is a master of none. That kind of phrase with music for me. Yep. And he stops and
he is a
I
masturbator.
knew somebody was going to walk.
You may have set yourself
I'm married
up
to
for
his
that.
daughter.
You may have set that one up on yourself.
I did.
If you're gonna walk into the minefield, you gotta expect the boom.
I did that to me. God damn it! This is gonna go out on the internet, isn't it? I'm not gonna end up editing this out. I can't. Like, that wouldn't be fair.
No shit.
Yeah, no shit. But Mark looks at me and he goes, "Oh, you're one of them fuckers." He takes me around, starts introducing me. He goes, "Oh, he's one of them fuckers." Mackenzie Pfeiffer, he's one of them fuckers.
Yeah.
All these guys.
There is a wealth of talent in this area.
There is.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I started going out there. I hadn't played in 30 years because life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, kids, life, wife, all the above. You know, I hadn't played in 30 years, so I started going out to the open jams.
Mm-hmm.
And then, retired about a year and a half ago. Man, I love that. That's great. You get opportunity to play, and I can do whatever. And I've met a lot of great people. But yeah, that's what we used to do. We used to jam all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
used
a
to
very
run
good
open
scene
mic
around
night
here.
Yeah.
when I first started playing out
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what the amount of
a
musicians
million years ago.
around here available that are good musicians. I mean, there's some out there that need a little work, but man,
the
the
biggest-
average are good.
The
Yeah.
biggest detriment to this area is not the musicianship. There's great musicians here who just basically need it's a lack of good venues. We need more venues.
Well, there are good venues.
Yeah, but there's not
It's-
enough of them.
It's
Well,
The
I
attitude
kind of have
towards
to
it.
disagree with that because I think we have more venues playing live music
Yeah.
in this area than any other area
But to
with the same population.
Yeah.
It's like most of the country, you go
I
around
end
like
up-
Michigan, you know.
You're not-
Well, maybe they just don't like me because I'm driving all the time.
Well, you got to go where they'll pay you more than $50.
Yeah, that's the real issue.
That has been an
That's-
issue.
So
yeah.
to your kind of point about the detriment to this area, it's not a lack of a number of venues. It's a lack of venues that understand the venues
value.
around here kind of feed the cul-de-sac mentality. They're all here to feed each other.
Mhm.
And if you want to break out of that, you kind of lose touch with that circle. And once you lose touch with that circle, it can be tough to touch back in. That's just from what I've observed.
yeah.
I've worked with dozens of musicians in the area that they really want to be going out and traveling and playing more places. But the moment they start to step out, they immediately start to lose touch with the circle here. And that's been their bread and butter. And that's the big leap of faith, right?
Well, there's a few very nice venues here. That's not, I don't have a problem with the venues themselves. I just wish that there were enough of a scene to where, they would maybe realize that they've got a fantastic opportunity and, the people too, to have great entertainment every night of the week. And
To make this area an entertainment center and focus and elevate
Yeah.
that
The
music,
music.
and say, look what we've got to
Yeah.
offer. Isn't this fabulous? And then to be able
Meanwhile,
to pay the bands what,
meanwhile,
That's the
thing.
she and I, we can, in the band, we can go do a show at, the casino or something and make as much as 5 or 6 shows,
Combined,
playing,
yeah.
in this area is like,
Well,
that's why we end up driving so much as we play all over the state. We go all across, then we go down to the Bonita and Naples and Fort Myers and over to the other coast, Sebastian.
Panama City Beach,
Yeah.
Tallahassee.
Pensacola.
I had this
So-
conversation with several members of Phoenix 5, and because they have such a high budget for their
Oh,
band
yeah.
that they have to make the money to supplement that.
Yeah.
And
So a lot of times
Sure.
you got to go outside this area
Yeah.
because we haven't had a lot of luck. I think that the money's there. I just think that I get the impression that in the past this area had tougher times economically than they do now. And I think a lot of the folks that have been owners and have establishments are still, they're afraid to push the envelope too high because they remember back in the day when things were tougher and they don't want to, stretch themselves or something.
Well, and
I think there's so much. I think there's tons of people.
That was 30 years ago, and $150 a person back then. It's still $150 now.
However, the local businesses got a taste
gas
of that
went up
hardship.
since then.
Not to harp on this same old antic that everybody likes to talk about, but they kind of got a taste of that hardship again after 30 years with COVID happened.
Yeah,
It didn't matter if you came out okay. Everybody suffered a little bit financially through that.
Oh,
and so
musicians suffered greatly.
It was a taste of how easily that. Oh, I 100% agree with that because you can't go play. What do you? Yeah,
when the big shutdown happened at the beginning of the pandemic, I had an entire year's worth of tour dates booked
within 4 days,
and in 4 days, I watched over $100 and some $1,000 worth of dates go up in smoke.
Yeah. I mean, we were supposed to go back to Poland, and then we were working on routing through other countries, and it was
just like,
you're done.
Well, but some of it you got to put over on the people who are participating. They're not loyal to places, not loyal to bands quite like I think they used to be.
Yeah.
So they don't come out, and so a venue that is decent and has good music doesn't get enough participation to pay the bills.
People aren't going out like they used to.
No,
that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Gas got expensive.
I can personally attest to this. I run the listening room out of Laugh Out Lounge, and that's a ticketed event. And we have found that, there are always the exceptions, right? I mean, I won't name names. We had one show that within minutes of posting the tickets, the thing sold out. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. We had a few others that either sold out or got really close, but then we've had some that for no real reason that we could conceive, it just... nobody wanted to come out, and they weren't even people that were local that you could go see for free tomorrow night at the next bar over.
Yeah.
And so I agree with the lack of loyalty, but I wouldn't say so much it's the venues. There are venues that lack loyalty to the music scene and to the musicians, but I hate to call it out like this, but a lot of it's the community. Kind of picks and chooses. Like, there's a lot of lip service around here. A lot of like, we're here to support you. We believe in you.
But the younger generation that's out to listen to it doesn't have the money. The only people down here that's got the money is the old people, and who wants to play the nursing homes every week?
There's not a lot of opportunities left out there.
I've got an act that I'm working with.
You got to do what you got to do, Mark.
And any DJ can make them happy playing the same damn song they heard 50 years ago. Over and over.
Okay, I'm going to say something that's a hot take right now. Because, it's a hot take because I'm going to see 2 older bands in the next few weeks.
Metallica! They're saying it's an older band.
AC/DC
I can't believe
Metallica.
That.
But here's my point. Then AC/DC kind of fits into this, and I love AC/DC, but there's plenty of other acts out there that fit into this. On that same note, with like the older folks have the money and the younger people don't. In that same vein, I've noticed that there's a lot of young talent that isn't getting an opportunity because these 70-some-odd-year-old rock stars are still touring and taking a lot of the tickets and stuff.
Well, it's because the people are still buying those tickets. If people weren't buying those tickets, that's why tribute acts are so freaking popular.
Yeah, tribute acts are stepping on our toes more than
I've got another option.
That's exactly what I was going to lean into next.
It might be that the music in the 70s was so freaking good. That they ain't none of it matters anymore.
So now I want to pivot on that real quick. So like, you go back to the 70s and even 80s for the most part, music was authentic. Everything. I remember reading this documentary.
Computers were shit. They couldn't do anything
exactly.
yet. So people had to play for real,
That's
Rolling Stones. Now we have AI that can do the whole damn song for you.
So you're touching on exactly what I'm about to bring up. There was an interview in Rolling Stones where it was the Rolling Stones they were interviewing, and they were talking about how music has changed, and you don't have to be as on point as you used to. When you'd lay down tracks, when you record a song, I bet you play every note, and if it's not right, you don't let a computer fix it. You go back and play it. Sure.
I hate auto-tune. I can hear it in the recordings, so I don't want. If I don't play it right, then I need to work harder.
Exactly.
That's where we came from. There wasn't nothing else to do.
But the technology has come so far, and the younger people have mastered it so much that they can work with that, and they're willing to work with the technology instead of master the craft.
Well, why? Of course, if you have the ability to have an entire song that you thought up, I don't even really know the words, but I want it to kind of sound like this. And you can just type that into a little computer screen. And then the machine will sit there and spit out a bunch of options for you to pick from. No, make it more brown. Okay, now put in the...
We need to write a song about boogers.
Yeah.
Do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Brown. Yeah.
And it'll write the damn lyrics and do the vocal for you.
We'll do that for one of our
I can show you a half a dozen sites right now where you don't have to do anything. It will even write the lyrics for you. It will even sing the lyrics. So put the whole song with a finished mix.
So that's what I was going to kind of lean into is that, yes, I'm up here bitching about how older bands and artists are still hanging on to the big, tours and the big seats and everything that everyone wants to spend all their money on. But it's because, and I hate to shit on the younger artists because they are artists, but it's not as difficult for them, and that's a very hard line, and I'm walking there. I recognize that.
That's why there are no more record companies developing great acts, because they know that these kids don't care. They're just going to do what's best for the moment.
They're disposable.
So they just basically sit there and wait. That kid's got 500,000 hits. Okay, offer him a quick deal, and we'll use him this year. And by next year, he'll be back home selling tacos.
Well, I mean, this happened especially in the 80s and 90s. Is that record labels saw the line out the door of people that wanted to be famous. I mean, look at American Idol as a prime example. And so the record labels went, we don't have to make them a deal that they agree with. We can give them whatever one-sided record deal we want to. And if they say no, we move right on to the next.
But also on top of that, back then, there were producers who would find acts out there, and they would see these acts and they would say, wow, these kids have got something different. I can help them. And then they would take that band into the studio and they would mold them and take all the rough edges off and teach them and give them their expertise. And then they would come up with fantastic acts that would, that were developed.
Well, they would actually develop them by sending them to, like the Motown acts, they would send them to school to teach them how to walk, how to hold themselves, how to hold a conversation. They would do the stylist thing.
The way they were going to move on television because they knew they were going to put them on the
TV.
Bob
Dylan famously ratted out his producer and said everything about Who I Am That You See is produced. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bob Dylan famously I can't remember where he did the interview. It was on some news channel.
What these guys were. These producers were really, 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 really intelligent audiophiles who knew the equipment, knew how the industry worked, and they could see the potential in these other people. They couldn't do it themselves, but they had the ability to mold and take the rough edges off these people who did have that certain something and help them to become as excellent as they can be.
Yeah.
Every band starts out a bunch of guys just working their ass off in a garage.
Mm-hmm.
But after a certain point, if something starts to pop and the people start going, hey, these kids are pretty good, and if that guy's sitting out there that has all that expertise and sees them, he can take that little garage band and pull off all the bullshit and bring out the diamond that is inside.
Yeah.
Those guys don't exist anymore.
Yeah. No, I have to agree with that, because that was exactly the stories from Allman Brothers all the way those years. Mm-hmm. They were all found, or one person was found already playing in a different group, but they were originally found and then molded. Everybody's got to be molded. I don't know that anybody does that at all.
No.
The only band, even a band like Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin came out huge. Everybody thinks, but Jimmy Page, he was a rare breed because he was not only a member of the band and had that skill, but he was a producer. Mm-hmm. He could see, because he worked on so many other people's records as a studio musician. He'd been in the studio for years by the time he put Zeppelin together. And he went out and he found those guys and said, yeah, that guy's got that. Oh, that drummer. Oh, that's the guy. And he built that just like a real producer would and created that band and then molded them into that image that they became. But it would never have happened if it wasn't for a guy like him, who was also a producer as well as a player. And a lot of bands like the Eagles said famously that Ahmet Ertegun, the guy that was their manager and producer, and they said flat out, yeah, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. We would have never become what we became.
Yeah.
Because Ahmet's the devil and he beat the shit out of us. But he was our devil.
Yeah. He got them where they needed to be and wanted to be. So that was their ticket, their golden ticket.
And he had the ability to look at him and say, no, that sucks. Oh, that's good. No, get rid of that. Nope, you're not doing that.
Yeah. No, honestly, you're right. I mean, the reason any young person really kind of makes it successfully especially in music, is because they learn that they have to produce. And this is where like the modern technology like TikTok and all that stuff comes into play, because and this is going to segue into the question that I really want to ask. You hear that, Mark? I used your favorite word.
Trying to find out who's playing that music out there.
Oh, I know, right? Neighbors. So as the technology,
they're fixing to find out I got better speakers.
this will get fun, guys. I'm gonna have to bring the camera outside and see what happens.
No doubt.
But so speaking to you guys that have worked in studios, that have played in all over the country and all over the world, and have worked with young, old, new, talented, fresh, whatever, all that talent. As the technology for self-production has developed, and we've seen the producers, the guys that's their sole purpose, kind of, I wouldn't say go away, but become extremely small, and it pretty much only feeds like 1%, right? But as all that has gotten easier access and people are able to start teaching themselves to self-produce, the argument is that has made professionalism or attaining a real career in music easier. But do you think that is true, or do you think that it's made it more difficult because we've oversaturated?
They've pulled the money out of it.
Well,
And so you can't, it's really, really, really difficult without a lot of backing to recoup your costs. If you go into a studio and do it right now, he's a different sort of creature because he can do it all right there. You know, we don't have to go in, and we did for a few songs, went over to Clearwater and
also when I was a session guy at the Swamp, I was working in that beautiful old analog studio, and that place was
Mark Varner's studio.
Yeah, that was like the Magic Kingdom. So,
but a lot of it you did on your own. Well, Al just let you use the studio.
Al, yeah. Well, Al and I were friends, so he basically gave me free reign of the place. He was like, I got to go deal with this and do this, have fun.
But most people don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
They don't have the skills or whatever. And so the money that they have to put out an album, it's almost impossible these days to recoup the cost, let alone.
Well, you can't sell any records. There ain't no records. CD players? Nah, nobody's got a CD player.
Yeah.
What do you
plays,
sell?
and
it's all spins. And Spotify's eviscerated that 1/100th of a penny for every spin,
Yeah.
well, one of the things I think that's made a difference too is I've seen it in a lot of different quality issues is quality. The quality musicians, they don't have to be as good as what we did back in our day. I mean, I used to have a transistor radio. I'm listening to Frankenstein as best I can.
Oh yeah.
And then
Yeah,
I had this
song.
little tape player, and I would play, and I just rewind, get it forward, and I sit there and play with that every night. Brother wasn't really happy with that, but YouTube now. How many musicians that claim to be somebody? They're home working on YouTube. They got somebody that will show you how to play that song.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, and there's no.
Because they can't make any money playing. So they're trying to make money off YouTube.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's clues there. Somebody has to just look around.
The world's changed, so it's like
the unfortunate thing about that change. The unfortunate thing about that change is I started out way back, and like I said, working in the analog studios, and I got to be a staff guitarist at the Swamp, which is the Grand Funk Railroad studio. And this is a beautiful old school, big, huge sound rooms, tie ceilings, movable baffle walls, all that old traditional stuff with all that fantastic old vintage tube gear and those beautiful microphones that don't exist anymore, because nobody can afford to make them. And I got to work in this and with big 2-inch tape machines rolling, with a Neotech console that was 14 feet long,
No, I worked at, I shouldn't say work, but I got to intern and train a lot of my audio engineering at Tree Sound Studios in Atlanta. And they had Studio A, or their primary studio, is almost entirely old school analog, panel walls, the whole nine. They had,
and you could not
you walk in and
you could not create this stuff on a computer. You couldn't sit there and morph and put things together on a computer and just have it do the sounds if you were looking for it. If you wanted to create something, you had to physically create it and capture it on that tape because there was no other way it was going to exist. And the experimentation that we used to do was it was half the fun. Doing crazy shit. Like I remember when Ted Nugent was working at the Swamp, he did a lot of his records there, and he had a guy named Gunnar Gunnar Ross was the drummer at the time, and they were experimenting with his kick drum, trying to get this sound. Finally, they brought in a 12-foot long sewer pipe that was the diameter of his bass drum, and they hit the bass drum and connected it with gaff tape to the one end, and they padded the inside with strips of shag carpet to tame down some of the weird ambient noises that they were getting. And then they put mics at the one, in the right up front where it was at the beginning of the tube, and then another mic down at the end of this sewer pipe. And they did this stuff to create this wild thud clang kind of thing. It was like a kick drum and an anvil at the same time,
Wow, that'd be cool.
But nobody had ever done anything like this. This is the 80s, and it's like,
yeah, but you're giving Mark ideas.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I just need a sewer pipe. We're good.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, anything.
Lit up a little bit there, didn't it?
And this was back in the day when they had record companies who were, basically said, yep, here you go. Here's a check for the next 6 weeks. Lock everybody out. It's their studio. And these bands would come in and work and experiment and write and, record 8, 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
For months until there was a record, and their producers in there, and you're running around. I would a lot of times be a mic slinger, which basically means I was running around running the cables and hooking up mics and setting stuff up on the side. Mm-hmm. I was also a staff guitarist, so if somebody came in, like songwriters or a producer was like, I need to put together a backup band to play these charts, and I'd be one of the guys, and he'd walk in and hand you the chart and say, okay, get that together, we're going to roll in 10 minutes. Oh, okay. So you're reading your charts and going, okay, all right. And put the band together, and they'd say, okay, take one. And you roll through the stuff and get it done. But the thing I'm saying is that the digital world, you can't go back. But I really, really think that a lot of the greatness that we talk about from these past recordings was just because of the fact that there was no fix it in the mix. There was no, retrack it with the computer. Oh, guy's off a little bit. We'll requantize him inside Pro Tools. No, there was just people knuckling down and working their asses off until that magic moment happened.
Yeah. Is the mastery of that man? We kind of experience that on this podcast where we get into a really good conversation, just like this one, and you'll have that magic moment where everybody's talking, everybody's communicating, and this is so interesting to watch and talk about. But then you have other moments where you kind of have to work at it and encourage it. There's no fixing a conversation in an edit for film, right? Same thing in music. There's that the musicians that you're talking about are the people that have mastered analog, finding that magic moment.
Well, in that analog world too, that environment forced you to work harder and push yourself more.
That was the key. You didn't have a choice. You had to learn how to set your own equipment. You had to learn where your equipment sounded best. And if you were
coming up with a great part, but maybe it was really hard or really fast and you were having trouble with it, there was no, we'll get close and we'll have the computer fix it.
Yeah, no.
Well, it was just do it again, 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 do it again.
I remember working with one of those 40-foot sound or 14-foot soundboards in the analog rooms, and you learn the phrase that stuck with me is serve the song. You get so many people that come in and they want to be the rock star. They want to have the moment. This doesn't sound right. And I want it to be, and everybody else is going, no, it sounds great. But they won't listen because they want to be the hero or they want to be the center of attention.
Have that producer in there inside in that room going, no, I'll tell you when the song is right.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be in charge. You're
correct.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody's got to be in charge. And as someone who runs sound, as a front of house guy, as a producer myself, you have to have that there's that mutual trust. The band has to trust that you have you're not going to allow them to look or sound stupid.
You won't turn up the suck knob.
Exactly. But you're also not going to allow them to hide behind excessive post editing to hide the suck. And
the problem is there again, we were passionate back in our day. Yeah. Everybody was passionate about
music. Was religion.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
The people I listened to, Derek Trucks and some of those areas, these people love this. That's why they do what they do and put up with the nonsense.
And it took a year between albums because they were working that hard to find all those songs and get all those sounds.
Because they wasn't going to put anything out.
And then when it finally did came out after a year, you're like, oh my God, it's finally here. There was that, it was like religion,
And it was great. That was the difference between, I mean, how many bands put out a really good album and then they were rushed into putting out a second album quickly and it just sucked.
Yeah.
It was trash.
Yep, that's why you have to have
the
that.
heart wasn't in it.
Yeah, well, that's why you have a producer.
Yeah.
Who knows
That's
and
right.
who's you're working with you and with the band, or a producer agent or whatever, a producer manager, and he knows when to put the brakes on. It's like, okay, these guys did a great album. They've been on the road now for 6 months. These guys need a vacation before they go back into the studio. Otherwise, they're going to crap out. And
they didn't give them that.
Yeah, a lot of times they did.
Well, to bring the Eagles back up again, isn't that kind of what happened with them? Is they tried to bang out album after album after album after album and squeeze in tours, and they all kind of got burned out and then went at each other's throats.
Oh, it's exhausting.
And
even when you've got
guys,
all the bells and whistles, it's
those
exhausting.
guys all came from really established. Like Don Fry was, I guess, was the drummer for
Linda Ronstadt
beforehand. And so these guys were already professionals working with other people. And so you get these egos all together and then you cram them in a position where they got to be face to face with each other for, 7 days a week for months and months and years at a time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Eventually. Yeah. Amit basically saved their lives by finally putting the brakes on and saying, you guys need to just go away, get away from each other for a year. We'll come back in a year.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you've seen that with countless bands because it is a close quarters working.
You don't know somebody till you travel with them.
Oh, there's not a question about that.
Especially when they shit on the bus.
And
that
don't
sounds
spray.
like a story. Hold on, stop right there.
I'm thinking you're right.
When they what?
Shit on the bus.
What happened to you on a bus?
Nothing happened to me, but I've
You
heard.
opened that bathroom door and
I was told, even before you got on the bus, on the Blackberry Smoke bus, that nobody shits in the shitter on the bus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We took that a completely different way on this end of the table.
I was literally thinking he was on a Greyhound and someone shit their pants in the seat.
Yeah. All right. So we were playing.
It
on
may have
top of
happened.
the campground atmosphere, right? We go down and play a little festival, and they wanted us to play 2 days, so they gave us a camper to stay in on the place, right? No big deal. There's 5 or 6 of us. I don't remember. Somebody early on, before we really got in for the night, stepped in some dog shit and spread it from one end to the other. So we're in that camper going, oh my God. Well, another person has decided that spraying Brute on it would make it better.
Oh, God.
That was some toxic shit, let me tell you.
I would have hated to be the guy who had to go clean the camper out.
Hey, I wasn't worried about them. I was not in there. That's what I had enough.
It was like a great night to go sleeping under the stars.
Yeah.
And then one of them's going to snore all fucking night.
I fished a lot of bass tournaments and stuff like that, and we all piled in. And we had one major snore, and they got so irritated with him, they took and slapped him right here on the chest because he was tearing. Everybody was up except for him, and they broke 2 of his ribs.
Oh my God!
And then everybody was kind of like, I don't know what happened,
No, that's an easy fix. You just hand out foamies to everybody. You say, here, make sure you have these.
I got a better idea. I'm an adult. I'll get my own damn room.
Yeah.
I'm not staying in a hotel room, a bus, camper,
but when
with
you're
any other
20-something,
body.
sometimes you get in a situation where you don't have that credit card yet.
Well,
Or the option,
it's easy from the fan side to hear about. I'll use ACDC as a reference to hear about how they all live so far away and they won't ride a tour bus. They all fly their own personal jets into every single show and they travel separately. Mm-hmm. And then you learn it's because you spent all these years with these guys and you've gotten on each other's nerves so much. Know that it's better to be a little apart.
A little me space.
Me space. You're going to be in each other's faces in the green room, on the stage, and after the show. And for all the other little events you're going to do.
If you're lucky enough to be in an outfit that's got the budget, then most acts prefer to just have their own travel accommodations.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to leave at a different time. It's like, the drummer decides he's an early morning guy and he wants his bus hitting the road by as soon as the sun's up because he wants to get into town early so that he's got time to relax, go grab a meal. But the guitar player's like, fuck that. I'm not leaving until we have just enough time to get to the venue because I want to sleep. I
want to sleep in,
And then the singer took a girl home last night and we don't know
where he's at.
We've been down that road.
So where's the bass player? Still passed out in the band?
Yeah, what?
We're just sitting there
He got on
waiting.
the wrong bus. He was with the drummer.
Yeah, we were tagging. Yeah,
I've seen so many like funny videos on the internet of that says when the drummer and the bass player start talking, the rest of the band doesn't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
You see the guitar player and the singer going, "What?" And the drummer's going, and the bass is like, "Yeah," and they're playing their own thing.
there's a special language. Yeah.
Birds of a feather for sure. Birds of a feather.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
because we're sitting right behind the singer, and they may have shit their pants. And we're
Yeah,
going,
hey,
What's
Mark.
with you
He
and
started.
shitting to the
I don't know. I think it's because
Speaking of shitting your pants, I got a
Fart
great war
contest.
story.
Oh,
They used to
this
have
is a
fart
segment
contest.
right
I
here.
got a war story for you.
Oh,
See, back in the day,
See, I
when
knew
we
something
were,
was coming.
I was much younger, man, and all the guys we were out running around doing stuff. We were
Don't bump
playing
the
in
table.
bands and stuff, and traveling around and touring and stuff. And I was playing metal and things like that. Anyway, the drummer was a great guy. Used to work hard and had very pleasant demeanor all the time. And we would like to play practical little jokes on each other from time to time. So no big thing. And he had gotten me, and I gotten him, and the bass player had gotten both of us. Blah blah blah. One night I decided
They had
before the-
scorecards, by the way.
we used to we made little cards we would carry in our back pockets, and then when somebody would blow a really nasty, ratty ass fart, we'd pull the card out. Oh, 7. So you'd have these other guys in the band just going, oh, 7, that's an 8. And we would do that to each other and do that in public to make everybody go, what the hell? Oh, God. But anyway, one night we're on stage, and I had decided I was going to have Chinese. I really love Chinese.
Oh, he
I
does.
love Chinese.
It
but
doesn't love him.
My innards do not like Chinese.
I think I know where this is going.
I had
Peppers and
I had
onions.
broccoli and onions with, in a beef Szechuan sauce. So just tons of it, and I'm like feeling happy, getting up on stage. And all of a sudden I feel the gurgle, and I'm like, oh shit, we're on stage in front of a packed house having, doing our thing. So I walked back by the drummer, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah. And all of a sudden I go, hey, run for your life. And I leave, and I dropped a bomb right next to him, and he's got no fan. And he's trapped. He can't move. He's no fan. And he can't go anywhere. Suddenly it's drum solo.
yeah.
He
And
did
then,
that.
and then later in the show, he's back there with the bass player going, he started.
Yeah, we would do things like that.
Oh, he did it to my keyboard player one night. She did
Once
not
again,
deserve
You got
that.
to do it to people who are on an instrument where they're trapped,
Where they're
so
stuck
they can't
there,
move.
Right. Understood.
Keyboard player or a drummer, they're just the perfect target. The drummer,
So the moral
by the
of
way,
the
the drummer
story
the drummer started always carrying a fan from that point on.
I'm starting to wonder if this is why I see fans all over stages
it
nowadays.
very well could be.
Everybody's got their own little construction fan they have right
Yeah,
there.
the
So
story is spread.
the moral of the story is that if you're playing on stage with a Rusty Wright and you're on a stationary instrument, bring a fan.
And a
Absolutely.
scorecard.
And a scorecard.
Yeah,
Yes.
I forgot about score. Now, I was looking at the respirator, man. There's some chemicals out there you don't want to breathe in. Okay? I can't be sure where he'd been. So.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
All right.
there-
Guys, yeah, I'm sorry, Laurie, go for it.
Oh, I was going to talking about chemicals. We used to play biker events quite a bit, and they would do the burnouts. Only they did one
Oh.
right next to the
God.
stage while we're playing, and
All
we're
that
we're
black
sitting there.
funk flying through
Yeah,
the
the
air.
black tire funk that just
Covered the whole damn stage.
And it
covered up
smells
sting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Little
yeah.
tiny-
pieces of
yeah.
tire
It took
just
us
all
a
over you.
week.
burning tire. Like it's
Yeah.
burning
Yep.
tire. That
It
comes
was
off.
melted black rubber, tiny little particles of it floating through the air and the smoke over the whole stage. And
Our hands were covered with it. We had to clean every cable and everything.
it's a
from
big
that.
ass biker event, so you can't do nothing. Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
No,
right.
that's
You
part of it. You can
cocksucker.
expect You got to deal with what you come there.
Oh, you got you're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. It's
We-
like,
we
yeah, that was funny.
Become
yeah,
masters
okay.
of the stop, drop, and roll. Whatever's on fire, you just put it out, and keep going.
Yeah.
Try to put it
Is
out.
that sounds metaphorical, but it also sounds literal. Have you guys had any stage fires before?
Yes,
Yeah.
in Italy.
Oh, and in South Korea too.
Or no, that's right, South
Yeah.
Korea. That's
They this was dangerous as hell, but we got lucky. the power. We were playing doing
Air Force Base.
Yeah, we were doing
Osan.
like a USO tour for all the bases and stuff. They had sent us to South Korea and Japan, and I was like, fine. So we're playing this big festival at the Air Force Base, and the power on the Air Force Base is 110, but the sound company they brought in was South Korean, and all their stuff works on 220. So they have this giant distro, looks like an octopus with all these lines running out of it, and it's got switches and to switch between 110 or 220. So they're sending the 110 circuit to us because our gear is American. So we need 110 on the stage, and they're running 220 to all their power amps and their lighting and stuff. Well, we just finished playing, and our keyboard player he also played guitar while he's playing keys, and he puts his guitar down. And we just finished. Thank you, good night. And we just finished, and we put down all our stuff. Just took his hands off the strings and put it in the stand. And all of a sudden, everything starts sizzling. Black smoke, transformers explode and start frying.
God.
The keyboard.
The keyboard completely burned up. Somebody had screwed up and hit the wrong switch and routed 220 straight to the stage.
Wow.
If he'd have been hanging
Our
onto
half
that
of the
guitar,
stage.
Yeah.
Got it.
yeah, if he'd have been holding those guitar strings, he very well could have been lit up.
Playing the electric
So, yeah.
slide, yeah.
Yeah, we were on a metal stage
Just
too.
barely. I think there was only a few seconds between the end of the show. We put the instruments down, and all of a sudden,
Wow. And so it's all just like spontaneously combusting around.
Yeah.
all the transformers blow up and start burning.
Yeah.
All that black nasty
Yeah.
spouse
Lights
and stuff comes out of the back of the amps. Because all their transformers have exploded and caught fire.
That sounds like a
That was
scene out
wild,
of a Spielberg
yeah.
movie. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it was like,
insane.
and the audience is like, "Oh, part of the show."
The pyrotechnics are incredible. Meanwhile, there's some tech right there going,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, so
Everything.
the bands I played with, we were never to the stage of pyrotechnics, but we got to play regularly with this other rock band, and they were crazy, and they had pyrotechnics up there, and we'd all have a great time together. But they actually blew them off one time while we're up on stage. No idea it was coming. They scared the mortal hell out of all of us. All of a sudden, there's a freaking explosion.
that's one
Oh,
of
God.
the. You should have pulled out your cards at 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Back in the 80s, when I was playing metal,
Well, you got blown off a stage.
yeah,
Yeah.
we had a ATF certified pyrotech guy with us because we were doing all that shit. And this is the hardcore scene, thrash metal and all that stuff. And I'm playing this event, and I think it was in Ohio. I can't remember. And I think it was in Columbus, Ohio. It was. We used to play the El Rosa Villa, which is where poor Dimebag got shot.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the places on the venue. But anyway, our pyro guy had marked very clearly on the stage. He would put big, huge squares with X's in them, and then he would write stuff on it to us. Be here or you're dead. To let you know that, when the lights are. He even had lights, little siren lights behind the PA cabinets that would start flashing when he was about to blow. And you knew, okay, get to your mark
spot.
Yeah. And he was using concussion mortars. These are the things that make the big, huge thump that moves all
Rattle
the air.
your brain inside your skull.
There's no real flash or fire with them. Their whole job is to move. They're a mortar, so they basically thump a shitload of air pressure all at once while the big sparkly stuff goes off overhead.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We were holding that last chord. Oh yeah, thank you, good night. We're about to do the big kaboom. And at the last second, I don't know what I was thinking, but I stepped forward out of my square into the front of the stage.
Oh, no.
Wow! Fucking blew me all the way off the back of the stage. And I'm a big boy. And it picked me up and threw me.
Yeah.
I'm laying on the ground in the dark. Guitar's squealing, feeding back. Another with smoke and blackness and nasty smells. And I'm thinking, oh shit, I died and I'm in hell. No, it's like I just got blown off the stage, but you lived, you asshole.
That's one
Mike
way to
comes
get
running up.
backstage.
Yeah, Mike comes running up, and I remember him grabbing me going, oh, thank God you're alive. You stupid motherfucker. And he's just reading me the riot act. I'm glad you're alive now.
Yeah. That will kill you. But,
God, that's wow.
Yeah, the 80s were a very stupid period of time.
Yeah.
It's all because of MTV.
It was all because of cocaine.
I was going to go chemically induced.
Yeah.
Issues like in the 70s of saying similar.
Yeah. No, we went from nice mellow 70s pot buzzes to cocaine.
I mean, there's a reason there's whole songs about cocaine.
Yeah. Blue, God.
No, and that's
$160,000 up my nose in 1 year.
oh
Holy shit.
no. I keep hearing about
there was
that.
a lot of money in the 80s,
The
and
thing
I
I
lost a
can't-
lot of it.
Well, the problem I can't understand, being an old poor country boy, how in the hell did they get that kind of money anyhow? To
He
start
was
with,
making huge
yeah,
money
that's what I'm
then.
saying.
I was
yeah.
making $2,500 a week salary. I didn't have to do shit. I didn't even pack my guitar. I just walked up on the road crew, did the sound check. I just
No
showed up at
bills,
showtime.
no apartment.
No kids, no wife, no car payments, no nothing. Everything I own is in a storage locker back in Michigan. And I'm on the road perpetually
Yeah.
for like
Yeah.
18 months, you know? You do the math. $2,500 a week when you're a 20-something-year-old kid, you can get in a hell of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can
no
see
kidding.
that. That does make sense.
He got home and realized
And
he
that
had
was back
20
when gas
grand
was
left.
cheap.
Oh, yeah.
95 cents a
It's
gallon.
back when everything was cheap.
Oh my
I
gosh.
remember gas at 27 cents. Sorry. guys.
I
Gas used to
remember
be
it at the
27
same price
cents.
as a pack of cigarettes.
Oh, jeez.
I know. I've
About
been
80
chewing all
cents
my
a
life,
pack.
right? 35 cents a can was, and when it got up there about 75, I swore, if it goes to $1, I will never again chew again.
You did that too, yeah.
You know?
Well,
I did the-
so-
I
Didn't I
was-
see you chewing the other day that $10 a can stuff?
Oh, well, I found some ways to get cheaper stuff, but yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't quit.
I don't know where to
All
go
right.
with that. Well, guys, this is going to wrap up our first episode of the night. Thank you all so much
All
for
right.
being here. Make sure you check out
Come
some of those
on,
pictures.
let's
do this
Thank
again.
you all so
I
much
agree.
for coming out.
Cheers.
That's the.
I'm
Yeah.
just waiting to hear what the name of this one's going to be.
Oh my
Because we got
gosh.
farts.
I was
shit,
thinking
we
music
got
is really
cocaine,
gonna be in
we
We got
got
farts and cocaine. There you go.
7? Let's call it 7.
Yeah. Yeah. The car.
I was going to call it like
The
music
card.
is religious. I've got a number of like, oh my gosh.
I don't know. Fart gas and cocaine and probably get you a lot more views.
I'm airing on that one.